Hi friends, I think you all are doing good. Today's story is about the fox and the grapes. Let's start. Once upon a time, in a lush green forest, there lived a clever fox. One sunny afternoon, as the fox was wandering through the woods, he came across a beautiful vineyard. The vines were heavy with ripe, juicy grapes that hung in large, tempting clusters. The fox's mouth watered at the sight of the grapes. Those grapes must be delicious, he thought. I must have them. He walked up to the vineyard and looked at the grapes, which were hanging high above his head. He jumped up to try and reach them, but they were too high. Undeterred, he took a few steps back and made a running jump, but still couldn't reach the grapes. Determined, the fox tried again and again. He ran, he jumped, and he stretched as far as he could, but the grapes remained out of reach. Exhausted and frustrated, the fox sat down to catch his breath. As he looked up at the tantalizing grapes, he began to feel angry and bitter. "Those grapes probably aren't even ripe," he muttered to himself. "They're probably sour and not worth eating at all." With that, the fox turned up his nose and walked away, telling himself that he didn't really want the grapes anyway. As the fox trotted back into the forest, a wise old owl perched on a tree nearby had been watching the whole scene. The owl called out to the fox, "Is it really the grapes that are sour, or is it that you simply couldn't reach them?" The fox stopped and looked back at the owl, realizing the truth in its words. He had let his frustration and pride cloud his judgment. Instead of admitting he couldn't reach the grapes, he had convinced himself that they weren't worth having. The fox nodded to the owl in acknowledgement and continued on his way, a little wiser and more humble. And so, the story of the fox and the grapes teaches us all an important lesson. It's easy to despise what we cannot have, but true wisdom comes from recognizing and accepting our limitations without bitterness. Moral of the story: it's easy to criticize what we can't have, but humility and self-awareness are more valuable than pride. See you with next story. Have a nice day.